morning, good afternoon, good evening. I see a couple of our friends from Singapore joining as well. Welcome to this quarterly release webinar from Semgrep. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nitin Nair. I'm a staff solutions engineer here with Semgrep. Essentially work with our customers on making sure you guys get the maximum value out of Semgrep. On POVs from a technical perspective. I'm also joined today in the panel by a couple of my colleagues, Angel and Sam. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to kind of post them in the Q&A panel on the side, and they'll be busy at work helping you guys out. So let's just get started. The Semgrep engineering team's been busy at work. There's been lots and lots of capabilities that we have shipped in the last 3 months of the year. And what we wanted to do today is for our existing customers, which I see a lot on the call here, as well as people who are new to Semgrep or in the engagement process as a prospect, just to share that velocity with you, share with you guys what we've built in a succinct manner, give you guys a chance to ask questions, but also talk about why we chose these features, what the benefits were, and what's the broader thought process in the organization inside Semgrep. So as you can see, lots and lots of stuff at work across our core product, the platform, the SaaS scanning engine, supply chain, secrets, assistant, vibe coding, and integrations. What we're going to do today is focus on a few of the key ones which we thought were the most impactful. So we'll be looking at some of the enterprise scanning without log files. I know a lot of you guys have asked for it and using it already. Scanning across Azure DevOps, across Bitbucket. We've also added a lot of capabilities on the supply chain side around things like transitive reachability for JavaScript and Python, for malicious dependencies detection. And then I see a few people here who are PHP shops. So we recently added PHP reachability as well. And then finally, looking at assistant memories, which has been kind of our racehorse, a very, very powerful feature. And then, MCP, which is, I think, the hottest 3-letter acronym in the last 3 months as well. So hopefully you enjoy it. And let's get started. So we're going to get started with this whole theme of big number to go down. And this is one of those driving factors, one of those North Stars internally inside our organization, where one of the biggest things we are focused on is helping to reduce the noise, helping to reduce the number of false positives. And what we really, really want to do, the holy grail, is when you show a finding to your developer and you put it in front of them, they know it's real and they know how to fix it, right? So that's kind of the whole big number go down has been a big push, and we've actually gotten really, really positive feedback around it from a lot of our customers. One customer even going to the state saying, hey, once we've enabled the AI assistant, we have seen 0 false positives. So really, really powerful capability there. And so what is the assistant? I think most of you guys are familiar with it, but again, very quickly. So with the assistant memories, what we are able to do is we are able to essentially give the Semgrep AI assistant additional instructions or triage guidance, which they can use in the triage process. What we'll do here is actually go ahead and jump into a quick demo of this. So let me just go to my demo organization here. And what you see here is of course, the clickable charts that we recently introduced as well. And if you click on one of these, what you can see here is the ability to kind of go into the specific findings. And one of the key things you can see here is, hey, in this week of June 24, there were 600 findings which were opened in pull requests, 141 were fixed, and there were these 165 which were silenced. So what happens, what this means is, this is where the assistant is automatically looking at the code in the context of the business logic, in the context of the additional instructions, etc., that you've provided, to help reduce a lot of those false positives as well. So let's look at a couple of these examples here. So here, what you can see is essentially assistant giving us guidance. So you can see here, this is an example of a pickle tainted vulnerability. But what essentially assistant is saying here is this potentially dangerous deserialization, because we are using pickle as a library, is mitigated by the use of utils.clean, which according to our trusted patterns effectively sanitizes the user controlled information. So again, really powerful way in which what the assistant is doing here is it's actually looking at the data flow, and it sees that in line number 11, I'm getting user data from this request.data. Then I pass it through this sanitizer called utils.clean. Now, keep in mind, this is not a standard off-the-shelf sanitizer. This is a sanitizer like JSoup or Cleaner, but something that your team has developed internally. And then we are passing that into pickles. And because it has actually now been sanitized, using that additional context that you provided to Semgrep using assistant memories, it now knows this is actually a false positive. And so what it does is, one, it in any new findings, in any new merge requests, in any new pull requests, etc., it will automatically tag this as a potential false positive with the explanation, as well as remove this from your backend. So really, really powerful way. And what's really happening here is you're actually delivering on that principle of big number go down, because what you've done is you've actually silenced, based on these assistant memories, 165 such findings. So let's jump in a little bit more into the memories. So the way you can actually go ahead is you'll actually find them here in your assistant memories in rules and policies. And here what you can see is I have this memory which was triggered. So here you can see functions named with cleanse, sanitize, clean, or similar indicate that the user control data has been properly cleaned. Utils.clean is one such example. And this is where it's going. And you can actually see that this has helped with lots of different memories here in terms of reducing the false positives and reducing that noise for you. And it's not like a blanket static kind of a configuration, but this is actually intelligent, where we're now analyzing the data flow to see in that data flow, is at any step we hit a function which is named like this. So really, really powerful way in which you can do this. Another similar memory here is com.corp.utils.secure-logger. In this case, what we're doing is, instead of just using it for the triage decision to see if it's a true positive or false positive, we're actually now guiding the assistant when it generates the remediation guidance to actually use com.corp at secure-logger as a custom logging library, as opposed to using something like log4j, right? So both those cases, one is the AI triage and the other one is the AI remediation. So that's one key component here. The other thing I'm really excited about is how we actually integrate this into the developer workflow. So let me actually show that to you with a very simple example here. Let's say I'm a developer and I get this pull request and I see this code finding, and for whatever reason, this is a false positive. What I can do is I can actually go here in GitHub, in GitLab, in Bitbucket, in Azure DevOps, and just say /fp, which is the guidance you can see here based on this. And then I can put in a comment called, hey, we are validating the domain, call this. Now, this is standard process that most developers use today as part of their triage process, right? Because they want to communicate back to AppSec to say, hey, this is the reason why I've marked this as a false positive. But what Semgrep does is it is actively listening for this. And when it starts seeing some of these happen multiple times, we will actually automatically go and translate this into a recommendation for a memory. So your developers don't have to do anything different. There is no additional steps. There is no friction added. And all of a sudden now you actually have a memory here saying, hey, by the way, AppSec team, so Mobashir or Terry or Greg, we are seeing your developers comment about this, and this will now become a memory which will, one, automatically get, if you activate it, so it's not activated automatically, but if you activate it, it will automatically get applied to these different findings. So help reduce those number of false positives by 570 here. You can also review why this is the case, how this is the case by clicking on the details, etc. And then moving forward, any new pull request, etc., it will automatically get filtered as ignored as false positive, right? So really, really powerful way in which you can actually take a lot of that institutional knowledge, a lot of that guidance that your developers are giving you into this. And what's been really exciting for me working with a lot of customers is one of the things which really resonated with me was we talked to one customer and they said, hey, my previous generation legacy SaaS solution, developers would give us feedback, we would mark things, but the SaaS solution would never learn anything about us. So it would almost be like this flat line around from a customization perspective. And with this solution that you have brought in from Semgrep, anytime anybody, a developer, an AppSec person, anybody engages with Semgrep in any way, we are actually learning more about it. The rules are getting better. We are getting less false positives. We are getting better remediation guidance because of this memory. So really, really powerful way. So you can go and activate it. You can also go and select the scope. So you can either apply it to all projects or to specific projects, specific rules. And we'll also very shortly be introducing a capability here for vulnerability classes as well. So really, really powerful capability. This should be available for everybody who has Assistant enabled by default. So please, if one thing you want to try out of today's session, definitely go try this out. Yeah. We have Angel and Sam on the chat. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to kind of put them in the platform as well. But that was on the assistant side. The next one here, which has really been the hottest thing, one of the most talked about capabilities is the Semgrep MCP server. We've seen with a lot of our customers, and I'm sure you guys are seeing this as well, is lots of your developers are now moving from kind of the legacy IDEs like JetBrains and VS Code to more the cursors and the Windsurf kind of AI-enabled IDEs. And so what we've done here is actually created a Semgrep MCP server, which can be inserted into their workflow. So let me just bring that up here very quickly. I do use Cursor a little bit for my own vibe coding, which is really great. So one of these days, what I did is I went and said, hey, Cursor, let's create a Flask app which displays a Semgrep RSA 2025 logo, gave it all these beautiful things. And what Cursor does there is it will actually go ahead and create the app. It will do everything here, as you can see. But what's really interesting now is we've actually configured Semgrep as an MCP server here. I'll show that to you. But as soon as Cursor finishes its vibe coding, it will actually go ahead and automatically run Semgrep on it. And so here you can see it's run Semgrep, and we found 3 security issues here. And then what Cursor does is it will automatically go ahead, and one of these is related to running the Python file in debug mode, which is of course a no-no in your production environment. And so what Cursor then goes is it automatically goes changing this red line here, which says, so previously when it ran it, it had app.run host this and debug equal to true. And it has now removed that to make sure it's not running debug in production environment. And it also tells the developer saying that the security issue has been removed here for you. So again, helping you insert Semgrep into your developers' environments without any friction. Really, really easy to set up. You actually go ahead and create like a Cursor rule here. Yeah. And then you actually create the config for the MCP server. We've got lots of great documentation about this as well on our website. And we'll also send that out. It's in the references column at the end as well of the slides. So once you get the slides, you'll be able to get that access as well. But again, really interesting feature. If you guys are seeing your developers starting to use Cursor or Windsurf or any of these AI IDs, highly, highly recommend them to actually try this out. It's been very positive feedback here. Again, if there's any questions on this, feel free to put them in the chat window. And I can also, if there are questions, I'm happy to pause and take any questions as well live. But let's keep moving. I don't know if there's any questions. Angel or Sam, any questions there? All right, cool. So now let's change tracks from the SaaS side more into the supply chain side. And this is, I think, one of the most exciting capabilities. This is the most talked about capabilities, which is transitive reachability. So we now have support for Java script in transitive reachability, as well as Is there any plans to release a remote MCP server? Let me come back to you on that one, Mubashir. I'll come back to you on that one, yeah. So we have support here for JavaScript as well as Python with the UV ecosystem. And so what we are doing here, which is really, really powerful, is previously what would happen is, so let's look at this example. So here you've got a finding. I'm using handlebars here in one of my, so this is one of my projects is actually using handlebars. But what's interesting is handlebars here actually is not a direct dependency. My direct dependency is markdown doc test, which then brings in Istanbul, and then we bring in handlebars, and it's coming in a couple of different ways. And so now what we have done for JavaScript and for Python, for JavaScript for NPM and Python for UV, is we can actually go ahead and do reachability analysis, not just on the direct findings, but also on the transitive findings. And here you can see there's a clear message saying this finding can be deprioritized because it's not reachable. Semgrep didn't find any code that triggers the handlebar vulnerability in your Lodash app or in this one. So really, really powerful way in which you can actually help reduce some of those false positives, again, contributing to that big theme of big number go down, right? Really, really powerful. So you have this information around this. The other thing we've also done is in the UI, in the supply chain product, we've actually made the UI much more cleaner. So when there is a reachable finding, we actually give it as a big red signal here. This was one of the features we would ask by customers to say, hey, make it as clear as possible if it's reachable or unreachable. So here you can see if it's unreachable, nice green saying, hey, you can deprioritize it, reachable you can. And what we're also doing here is you can actually see the remediation guidance as well as if there's any changes there. Also, we make it really easy for you to see the full data flow. So you can see here in this case, I have the request going in here, and then it's actually going into the vulnerable sync annotate. So really, really clearly showing you how it's reachable as well. Unlike some of the existing tooling which is there today, you know, if you look at kind of the legacy providers like Dependabot, etc., all they do is they go and check on the Django version. What we are doing here is we're actually checking if there is real exploitability based on the user input going from coming into that specific vulnerable function here inside Django. Another thing that we recently added, which has been really, really powerful, is malicious dependencies. So this is where we're actually inputting, we're taking a feed of around roughly 30,000 rules from the Google OSP project of known malicious code. So this could be looking at things like typo squatting. So let's say one of your developers has actually brought in something like TenorFlow or well-known malicious packages. So you have these are automatically marked as critical, and these will be flagged in your blocking findings, as well as shown as a must fix in the UI. Okay. Any questions on the transitive reachability or the new UI for the reachability, for the findings, etc.? All right. Another highly requested feature is, so one of the things that Semgrep does really well as compared to some of our peers is we actually scan based on the log files, which means we get a full view of all the dependencies, both direct and transitive. Unlike some of the other solutions, which will only look at the pom.xml, which is only looking at the direct dependencies, etc. Direct dependencies. One of the feedback we'd gotten from customers around this was, hey, what happens if I don't have a log file? So let's say I've got a .NET project and I don't have the, I only have the CS proj or the SNL files. I do not have the, I don't have my package -log.json, or if I have a Java project, but I don't have the Maven dep tree. So what we've now done, which is now available in private beta, I believe some of you guys have already tested this out as well, is we can actually, as part of the Semgrep scan process, actually build the log file for you. The key benefit here is you're getting 100% coverage. So you're not just looking at your pom.xml or CS.proj files. You're actually now looking at the transitive dependency that are bringing you as well. So giving you full understanding of your coverage. So really, really powerful. Helps us. The internal motto we have here is, yes, we scan. So really, really powerful there. And then the last thing I want to talk about on the supply chain side was the PHP reachability. Let me show you a quick example of this as well. So here, what you can see is I opened a pull request a couple of days back, and in that, what I've done is actually brought in a reachable finding associated with this specific library called Zendesk framework, right? And so what you can see here very quickly is in the pull request itself, I check that there is this, and I tell you this is a high severity and reachable issue. So your developers now know there's a big issue, and also shows you how it's reachable and gives you a good explanation. It shows you the line of care code where the reachability is happening. So unlike some of the other solutions where they'll point you to a line of code in your composer.log, which is completely useless, here we're actually telling you exactly how it's reachable, and also give you guidance on how to fix this issue as well, right? So really, really powerful ways. So reachability there. And you can also see this finding here in the Semgrep UI as well. So yeah, really, really powerful information there from a PHP reachability perspective. Give it a try. I know some of you guys are PHP shops, so have a go ahead. Let me know if there's any questions, etc. as well. Just gonna pause there, see if there's any questions. For me, I see one from Gurunath. So that is definitely something we are looking at, Guru, for from a health perspective. So we are looking at dependency health, and end of life deprecation is one of those as well. So this is something we are looking at. Happy to set up some time with KK, our product team, to give you more details on that as well. Yeah, so I'll take that as an action. Any other questions from the team around the supply chain stuff? So key things on the supply chain, transitive reachability. If you guys are JavaScript, NPM, or Python UV shop, give us a shout. Would love to kind of work with you guys on that. Greg, yes. Scala SBT is the next one from a log fileless perspective that we are working on. Yeah, so you should see some updates on that soon. Chris, C++, Conan is something we're looking at as well. So yeah, I can come back to you with the dates around that, but that's something. So it's Scala SBT and then Conan, C++, kind of the key areas of focus. Any other questions? Brilliant. The next thing that I'm really excited about, I think all of you on the call, except for a couple, have been using this. This is our Semgrep Managed Scan. So we are very happy to take them into GA. So what Semgrep Managed Scan does, just for the people who aren't using it, is we will essentially install an app in your SCM. We now support Semgrep Managed Scan for GitHub, GitHub Cloud, Bitbucket, GitLab, Bitbucket on-prem, GitLab on-prem, Azure DevOps. Where anytime, and we listen to different events. So we listen to anytime a developer opens a pull request or updates a pull request, or on a schedule, for example. And at that time, we will actually run a scan in the Semgrep infrastructure. The key benefit here you have is you can onboard hundreds or thousands of repos in a single click. We had one customer who's actually on the call here. I won't name them, but Angel and I were on a call with them Tuesday afternoon, kind of just doing the standard POV setup. And then Wednesday morning, I wake up and I see actually we are scanning 4,800 repositories. So think about the scale at which you can actually scale your program, right? 4,800 repositories scanning in like less than 24 hours. Of course, it doesn't mean it's all done. You still have to do the work of onboarding and triaging, etc. But that whole step of going to every team, chasing them to approve your PR, etc., none of that needed. You have full control on this. The additional benefit, of course, you get with this is the fact that commercially the scans are now running in our infrastructure at no additional cost to you. So there's a little bit of savings on those expensive GitHub minutes that you have to use. And then also, I know we have a few customers here who have some very large repos. I was actually just on with one of the folks on the call right now, supersizing their scan repos. So what we can do in the backend is for some of your large repos or mono repos, we can move them to a supersized cluster, where instead of running like on a standard GitHub runner, which has like 7 gigs of RAM and one virtual CPU, we can give you like 16 machines, each with like 4 virtual CPUs and like 64 gigs of RAM. So really, really quick. So scans which weren't even the full scans on these mono repos, which can take a lot of time, are now completing like less than 30 minutes. And I see a few of people here on the call who've actually used this capability in anger, and has been really, really helpful for them as well. So it's there, it's supported. And it's supported now across all these different SCMs. So you have GitHub having parity with GitLab, Azure Bitbucket, etc., both on the SMS and the assistant side. Any questions or anything on the on this one, on the enterprise ready features or the scanning environments? Brilliant. So I know we've got like a little bit of time, but I wanted to kind of leave you guys with a few resources. So there's some of these resources that I would highly recommend you guys look at. So the release notes is really good. The updates is a really good one as well. And then we have the Academy as well. So we keep adding additional course material to the Academy for your developers as well as for AppSec. So keep that there. But any other questions? I see Chris here. Addo work items. Let me check on that. I know there was some internal discussions going on around this. I can come back to you on that one, Chris. Any other questions from the team? Brilliant. So really thank you guys for your time. Hope you found this useful. It's just a nice nugget of kind of giving you guys all the great stuff which has shipped in the last 3 months. So feel free to try it out. If you have any questions, we're always there on our support Slack. If you need any help in getting started, if there's any areas that you need additional help on, please let us know. But if not, give you guys back a little bit of time, and have a great Tuesday all, and stay cold and hydrated.